weather. When the elements are calm, it's considered a dull topic.
Yeah, but when nature's temper turns nasty, everyone turns their attention to the most reliable source of weather information.
Our goal is to be your best source, 24 hours a day. During the first 3 months of 1994, the Tennessee Valley experienced 2 major weather events. On January 17th, winter took northern Alabama in its icy grip when the sleet turned to rain. Floods closed roads, washed out homes, stranded families.
Then on Palm Sunday, March 27th, tornadoes ripped across the northeastern part of the state, leaving death and destruction behind. During this tape presentation, we'll relive both storms. We'll also recount another day of deadly twisters from 1974.
Well, we presented both of these special reports on Channel 31 in 1994, and we had so many requests for copies that we've made it available to you. And remember, your purchase price goes to help future victims of violent weather through the American Red Cross.
This 31 News and Weather Special is being brought to you by Alpha Insurance. Put your trust in people who care. And Wholesale Jewelers of Decatur, serving the Tennessee Valley for over a decade.
Nature's wrath. The Tennessee Valley is well acquainted with its deadly potential. Who could forget November 15th, 1989, a killer tornado swept across Huntsville's busy airport road and into Madison County. 23 people died, some 300 more were injured. Then on Palm Sunday, the Alabama skies darkened and rumbled again, leaving yet another deadly path of destruction in its wake. We actually felt the impact of 2 separate storms. The first began with a tornado warning in Morgan County, which yielded no damage, but dealt a crushing blow to neighboring Marshall County.
And I saw the tornado coming over the building right here, and I saw all kinds of this stuff right here. It looked like it was coming straight for the house, and like any normal person, they'd be scared.
Dwayne was just one of dozens of Guntersville residents who told their stories to 31 News crews. Power lines were down, trees blocked roads, residents of a nursing home had to flee to safety.
Did some structural damage to our building. It took the roof off on the east wing and set off our sprinkler system, and we're having to evacuate about 30 people to the hospital now.
Fortunately, no one there was hurt, although they were shaken from the scare. That same storm system spawned tornadoes as it moved across DeKalb County. Rainsville, Antioch, Grove Oak. These small DeKalb County towns looked much the same Sunday, devastated. Homes like this one were ripped off their foundations. Travis Wallen and his wife dug through what was their living room. Not much will be salvageable.
I knew right then it was tornado, so I grabbed my wife and we took off down the hall, and immediately the living room and the kitchen roof just fell in, and we just kind of ducked down and took cover.
One DeKalb County congregation is counting its blessings. Worship services were underway at Antioch Baptist Church on County Road 56 when the storm hit.
My dad was preaching, and the lights flickered off about 5 times, and then he hollered, "Get down," and everybody went under the benches. Everybody was screaming and running around and trying to get down, going hysterical.
Church members say they're lucky that no one was hurt. Meanwhile, another storm was taking shape in St. Clair and Etowah counties. It gained deadly strength as it moved into Cherokee County. There, the Palm Sunday storms took their most heart-wrenching toll. Just minutes after the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning, a twister demolished the Goshen United Methodist Church near Piedmont. At least 20 people died, including the 4-year-old daughter of the church pastor.
I was in the front row. We all looked at each other like, well, that's a hard rain. Then the hail started coming, and then we looked at each other like, okay, that's bad. And then a window broke out somewhere over there, big window, and somebody yelled, or everybody yelled, I don't know what, hit the floor. We all went under the pews, and I want to say this, my 4-year-old, just this week in her preschool, she had had weather training, and she had just been showing me what you do when there's a tornado. And she said, look, Mommy, go like this, and you put your head down, you put your hands over your head, and you get under something. So Hannah did what she was supposed to do. She did the right thing. She just got crushed. She did, you know, so we, you know, we heard everything come crashing in. Carol Scroggins said yesterday 20 seconds. It may have been that long, I don't know, but we looked up and there was sky, and everybody's just looking around saying, Oh, no. And people were screaming, kids were getting crazy, and there were people buried who needed to be pulled up, and we were just trying to pull them up, and we're just, we're just pulling up bricks.
Last Wednesday, Vice President Al Gore shared Reverend Clem's grief during his tour of the storm-ravaged region. It's ironic this latest round of deadly twisters should fall so close to the anniversary of Alabama's worst natural disaster, the killer tornadoes of 1974.
People were brought in on doors instead of stretchers because the stretchers had been exhausted.
Big old black cloud. I couldn't even see the phone to it. That is big old black cloud. I could see the debris coming out of it.
Every glass in the house was broke except for the sliding glass door, which was next to the chimney.
By the time our 6 o'clock newscast would have been over, we had reports of 3 tornadoes right here in our immediate area, and 2 of those even here in Madison County.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Don Phelps.
And I'm Heather Burns. 20 years ago, tornadoes ripped through the Tennessee Valley.
When it was all said and done, more than 80 men, women, and children were dead.
The destruction totaled more than $80 million. In fact, a lot of the damage took place right here at Parkway City Shopping Center, as it was referred to then. I remember I was a cub reporter covering the tornadoes that night. I had taken cover under the useless overpass just down the street.
Tonight we'll bring you more personal stories of the men and women caught up in the killer twisters.
Channel 31 was the only TV station at the time to have radar.
Matter of fact, we were the first to bring you pictures as the tornadoes crossed the valley.
And that's where we begin tonight. Killer tornadoes 20 years later.
This house is completely gone, and then there's 3 more brick houses here completely gone.
In Madison County, the first killer tornado struck near Harvest.
Half an hour later, of all things, we had another one about what they call a maxi tornado. Came through right on the same path, about a half a mile apart.
Mitchell headed up the civil defense team in Madison County. He is a World War II veteran.
I tell you what it reminded me of. It's like being ready for a counterattack. You knew something was coming, but you didn't know when, how, or how big.
Touchdown to Tanner, moving northeast at about 45 miles per hour. This one just about the same size as the other one. Let's go back over to Sam and Adrian now.
Sam DePino anchored the disaster coverage, as did Adrian Gibson.
Started listening to scanners, answering telephones, passing on information, and because of the verification available to us by the radar, we then were able to track these storms and tell people what was taking place. And at the same time,
it would be a long night for Channel 31. It would be a long night for everyone. Tornado after tornado ripped through Limestone, Lawrence, Madison, and Jackson counties.
2 twisters actually cut through the Paint Rock Valley and tore up the side of Putnam Mountain. There were several people that were hurt.
Huntsville Hospital was swamped with the injured, dead, and dying. 15 people were killed, 220 injured.
Mass confusion for a little while. The realization that we'd really had a disaster. Every hour that passed gave different emotions. We had wall-to-wall bodies, people that were injured, families. I remember children that didn't cry with injuries. It was like they were safe.
Tanner has been hit with this tornado.
Channel 31's exclusive radar is credited with saving lives.
John Bradshaw was our weatherman that night, and he was able to use his pointer or his finger, anyway, pinpoint exactly. See, the way the old radar scope was, with the brighten up and then decay, you could see a hole appear, and here's this little swirl around it, that fishhook effect.
Range, or within the sound of our voice, you're getting some...
That hook effect was the telltale sign of a tornado.
We did not pull any punches in the warnings, and we scared a lot of people, but they should have been. And they left their mobile homes, and they got in ditches, and they got out of places that were completely destroyed. Otherwise, they would have been dead.
For about 6 hours, the Tennessee Valley was in the grips of Mother Nature's fury. It all started about 6 o'clock that night and lasted until a little after 11 o'clock. It was frightening to hear, see, not to mention to live through. Can you imagine anything more horrifying than a tornado barreling down on your home with your loved ones inside? In just a moment, the stories from those of you who lived to tell about the day of the killer tornadoes.
My father had to set a half a cup of coffee on top of his Bible before we went in the bathroom. It was still sitting on top of his Bible.
I'm a very careful driver. I will never have an accident.
Hey, I'm young, I'm in great shape. Why do I need life insurance?
What, are you kidding? I'm gonna live to be 100.
I mean, what are the odds of something bad happening to me? 1,000,000 to 1?
We'll get some life insurance just as soon as we get ahead. Oh, come on, that could never happen to me.
These famous last words have been brought to you as a friendly reminder by Alpha Insurance.
I'll call Alpha tomorrow.
Wholesale Jewelers of Decatur presents their 12th annual Spring Savings Sale. Save on hundreds of items store-wide. A 20-inch Gold Flex herringbone chain, only $429. Or a Gold Flex herringbone bracelet, only $195. Quality, service, selection, and price guaranteed. In fact, find it for less anywhere within 30 days and they'll refund the difference. Family owned and operated, caring for the customer, serving the Tennessee Valley for over a decade.
31 News takes the lead in helping the Tennessee Valley with 31 tornado relief.
We thank 31 for starting it.
You've seen the pictures, you've heard the heart-wrenching stories. Now there's something you can do to help. Channel 31 is working with the Red Cross to help our neighbors rebuild their lives. Send your tax-deductible donation to American Red Cross 31 Tornado Relief, P.O. Box 2555, Huntsville 35804. You can make a difference. Be a part of 31 Tornado Relief.
He made a U-turn in the middle of the street, and he said, "We're going home." And so we never went to church that night. And in my little child's mind, you know, I always thought we got in trouble for not going to church that night, you know.
Towards the bridge down the road, you can see debris and everything flying to the 913, 914.
To hear the house tore apart was very frightening. To hear it hit the house, and you knew from, you know, hearing it that everything was being ripped to pieces. I thought we were going to die that night. Our house was total, but certain rooms looked like they had never been damaged. One of the bedrooms, you could tell the roof was gone and stuff, but as far as the stuff in it was okay.
Anita Howard and her family escaped serious injury when a tornado hit Hazel Green. Members of the Bevel family were killed. Anita Howard knew them. As a young child, she saw a lot.
That night, I remember tornadoes being everywhere. I remember my parents taking me to relatives to stay while they tried to salvage what they could, and just standing at their door watching tornadoes go through. It's like you could see them everywhere.
That night, the pain, the death, and the tragedy made its mark on Howard forever.
The one thing that I guess I do different having children now is that if a storm comes up, my kids have shoes on and they have coats. We went into the bathroom without any shoes on, without any coats.
George, you better get out there in a hurry, because that thing is moving fast. It's close.
Today, you know, it's 20 years later, yes, it still affects me.
Terry Bryson was only 11 years old when the killer tornado struck. Her home was targeted by the same tornado that did this.
And he was looking up here over the mountain, and he just said to my mother, he said, "Get the kids, we're out of here." And my mother grabbed my little brother, and my daddy grabbed my sister on one hip and me on the other, and he ran from our front door across the yard into the backyard of our neighbor's house, because our house is built on a slab and they had a crawl space under theirs, and we got under their house.
The official report from the Emergency Management Agency noted at 10:50 a major tornado crossed Redstone Arsenal and touched down 6 times in the city of Huntsville, causing great damage. That night, the American Red Cross set up 6 shelters housing 475 people. 744 units of whole blood were used to help treat the injured. Trucks were pressed into services when the ambulances could not handle the hundreds of injuries. And just next door in Lawrence and Limestone County, death and destruction reigned supreme that night.
It was really horrifying to see how the bodies were mangled and tore up, what a storm can do.
Best thing about living in Alabama